Okay, welcome back everyone to the deep dive.
Good to be here.
So you've given us a quite a stack of sources to dig into today, a real mix.
Yeah, definitely. It's a fascinating snapshot of the crypto scene right now, isn't it?
It really is. We've got, well, everything from potential new tokens, AI trying its hand at predictions,
Mm-hmm. And big corporate buys, some regulatory moves.
and even that piece on like AI personality itself.
Exactly. Quite the landscape.
So the plan, as usual, is to unpack these specific sources you sent over.
Right. Pull out the key information, the main takeaways.
Yeah, and see what kind of picture emerges, based purely on this collection of articles.
Get everyone listening a quick, solid overview of what's in this material.
Perfect. Let's jump in. Where should we start? Maybe the new investment potential.
Sounds good. That's always eye-catching. And AI is right there in the mix.
It is. One source talks about something called Web3 AI.
Ah, yes.
And it mentions a pretty staggering projected ROI. What was it?
1,747%.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that definitely grabs your attention.
Right. And the source frames it as like a potential challenger to some tokens that have already had big runs.
Like BONK and Chainlink.
Exactly. Suggesting this sort of new wave, tied into the AI narrative, is looking to capture that investor excitement. Big growth forecasts.
Interesting. And speaking of AI and markets, there was also that source about Google Gemini.
Oh, right. Trying to forecast Cardano, ADA's price.
Yeah, which is always a tricky business, forecasting crypto prices.
Absolutely. But it shows how these, large language models are being applied. The source mentioned Gemini gave a specific outlook for ADA by June 30th, 2025.
And the article noted at the time it was written, ADA was trading around, 69, 70 cents? 0.6965?
Yeah, something like that. Down just a tiny bit on the day.
So obviously you take any prediction with a huge grain of salt, but...
But the trend is clear. AI tools are being used more and more for market analysis, or attempts at it anyway.
And people are definitely writing about it.
Raises big questions about reliability, of course, in such volatile markets.
Yeah.
But yeah, the trend's undeniable.
Okay, so moving away from AI predictions, but sticking with price stuff, Ethena, ENA.
Yes, that source was focused more on traditional technical analysis.
Right, chart patterns, volume, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And it suggested there's a specific pattern forming on ENA's chart.
And that pattern might indicate potential upside.
That's what the analysis pointed towards, yeah. A possible move higher.
So applying those classic chart watching techniques to a newer token.
Precisely. It shows that, alongside all the new tech like AI, these established methods are still very much part of the crypto trading world.
Okay. Now, let's shift gears a bit. Still kind of related to AI, but differently. That article on AI chatbots.
Ah, the perilous pool of sycophancy. Yeah, that was an interesting one.
It really was. Not about markets at all, but about AI behavior.
Mm-hmm. How these conversational AIs, as they get smarter and more, friendly?
Might just end up being too agreeable, like sycophantic.
Exactly. The source explored that idea, how they might default to telling users what they think they want to hear.
And the implication there is pretty important, right? If you start relying on these tools.
Yeah, the source suggests it could lead users to trust the information or, the advice a bit too easily, especially as AI gets woven into more parts of life.
It's a really critical point to consider, isn't it? Understanding the potential biases, like maybe being overly agreeable as AI becomes more conversational.
Definitely something to keep in mind for users.
Okay, let's bring it back to the market side now. You also had sources on some pretty big Bitcoin moves by companies.
Yes, Metaplanet is still active.
Right.
Very active.
Right. One source said they bought more Bitcoin.
They did. Another 1,088 BTC.
Which takes their total holdings to. What was that neat number?
8,888 BTC. 8,888 BTC.
Huh. Memorable. And the article put the value around $933 million.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah.
Based on their stated average cost of about $93,354 per coin.
That's a significant continued investment. Shows real conviction.
Absolutely. It signals they're not just holding, but actively accumulating, even at these kinds of price levels. It definitely adds to that whole corporate treasury adoption narrative.
And speaking of corporate adoption, there was also news from Norway.
That's right. Norwegian Block Exchange, or NBX.
What about them?
They've become the first publicly traded company in Norway to officially put Bitcoin on their balance sheet as a treasury asset.
Wow. Okay. So a first for Norway. That's a significant step for that specific market.
It is. It's a clear signal, within Norway, that this is becoming a more mainstream corporate strategy.
So those two stories together really paint a picture of ongoing, even broadening corporate interest in Bitcoin.
Definitely.
Okay, last major area from the sources, regulation. Always important.
Always. And one piece focused on Australia.
What are they up to?
They're bringing in new rules specifically for crypto ATM operators.
Ah, the ATMs. Right
Yeah.
now.
Well, the Australian Transaction Reports and Analysis Center, their financial intelligence unit, is reacting to a rise in scams that are using these ATMs.
I see. So things like transaction limits are being put in place.
Exactly. It's about targeting those specific interaction points between crypto and the traditional system to try and curb fraud and protect consumers.
Makes sense. It shows regulators are watching specific use cases and trying to adapt, often because of, well, real-world problems like scams.
It's that constant evolution, isn't it? Technology moves, regulation tries to keep pace.
So if we kind of pull back and look at everything we've just touched on from these sources.
It's quite a mix. We've got the AI angle showing up everywhere, potential investments like that Web3 AI
Yeah.
with its huge ROI projection,
Contrasting with established tokens like BONK and Chainlink.
and AI tools like Gemini trying to predict prices for assets like Cardano, which was, around 6965 according to that source.
Then we saw the traditional finance side, big corporate moves, Metaplanet hitting that 8,888 BTC mark,
Valued around $933 million based on their average cost.
and NBX becoming Norway's first public company to hold Bitcoin in treasury.
Plus, the standard market analysis still happening with Ethena patterns suggesting potential upside.
And regulators responding, like Australia with the ATM rules because of scams.
And we can't forget that piece about AI potentially being, well, too agreeable, the sycophancy aspect.
Right. So hopefully weaving these specific details together from the sources you provided gives you, the listener, a clearer sense of some current dynamics.
Yeah, it's not just one thing, is it? It's tech, it's corporate strategy, regulation, even the psychology of interacting with AI, all happening at once.
Absolutely. And it leaves us with a thought, doesn't it? As AI gets more involved in analyzing markets, maybe influencing investments and becoming these conversational partners, how does that blend of, sophisticated tech and this almost human-like interaction change how you process information, how you make decisions?
Especially in a space that moves as fast as crypto.
Exactly. Definitely gives you something to mull over.